So, Sonia, I heard that after the Wall Street Sharks, you're going to become a marine biologist. Did you fall in love with all the sharks, or what's going on with you?
This is since early on. I was in love with Jacques Cousteau and with what he was doing. So yeah, I would love to become and study oceanography, absolutely, and keep swimming with sharks. I love them.
We can keep swimming with the sharks. Okay, let's do it. So welcome to this new edition of Leaders Who Have Something to Say. You know, this is the place to be and to get inspired with actionable advice from outstanding leaders. And I love to say that. I'm Mariana Ferrari and I'm your host today. And with us, we have Sonia Garcia Romero. She's the managing director of Citibank in Latin America. We will talk with Sonia about managing very diverse teams across geographies and businesses, and briefly discuss with her also women in finance. In the control room, we have Amcy Jackson, our executive producer, and most importantly, I hope we have all of you ready to start firing your cues and your comments. Sonia, welcome. I have to say, I'm so happy to have you here. I've been dying to have this conversation.
Thank you, Mariana. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very thrilled to share and be here with you today.
Thank you. Listen, and also not because, I know that you are like super women oriented, that you love supporting women, but I wanted to have this conversation with you because I want to remind everybody that Citibank is the first financial institution in Wall Street to be led by a woman, Jane Fraser, and you are a great supporter of women. So I'd like to start by asking you, what do women bring to the financial industry today?
All right. That's a critical question to start this discussion, absolutely. And I think, Jane, I've been able to work closely with her, and she certainly brings a very fresh and credible, interesting perspective to the business and to the culture of Citi. In fact, not only Citi is one of the major Wall Street firms to have for the first time a woman CEO, but also we were one of the first firms to manage to get gender parity on the board with 53% women and 20% minorities representation. And just since 2018, we have increased senior leader women promotions 41%. So what brings women to this picture brings a different perspective, a different angle. But so it does, other diverse team members. And that, I think that's one of the things that we will discuss further today is as you manage teams and lead teams, I think that diverse aspect of it, different backgrounds, different cultures, different genders, it brings makes the teams richer in production, in ideas,
and as I listen to you, I'm thinking that not only it enriches, the teams, but also it will represent better the clients, right? Because the clients are like super diverse. So to any corporation that it prides to say, that they are client oriented or client centric, if they don't have that diverse representation in the board, I don't see how they do.
Absolutely, Mariana. Remember, we are a service industry. We service clients. That's first and foremost. So, of course, clients are diverse. Clients are different cultures, different countries. We are a global firm, and our clients are global citizens of the world. So that brings, again, the diversity aspect forefront to cover them properly. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And as you're saying, I mean, you're a global firm, clients are global, but also you operate in global markets. So, I mean, you afford not to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and specifically, I don't know, maybe it's my idea, but I do believe, or maybe it's how I feel as a woman, that when you are talking about your finances, which more women, finally we're getting there, that we can have serious conversations about what we want to do with our money and our finances. I feel that I relate better with women, that they build this trust. I don't know if you see that, or is it more the representation of the diversity that the clients, we need to have that sense with somebody else?
Yeah, I think as we go back to the diversity of the teams, and in fact the clients, we have many statistics that women today manage and lead businesses in much bigger representation that they were like decades ago. So clearly now more women today take decision on finance, whether it's personal or whether our corporations. So yeah, I mean, again, they bring an angle, a perspective, and as I cover client women, we have great discussions, and some of them require my advice like men do. So I think the advisory that we bring to clients, independently of the gender, is the clear angle of this business to actually cover the needs of those clients.
Great. Thank you, Sonia, for that. And as we are talking about diversity, you manage Latin America. It is a huge region, which I manage as well some time ago. And I believe that people tend to think that Latin America is like one big bucket, but you're managing the entire region. Can you explain how diverse is Latin America, and why is it important to be sensitive to those differences among each market?
Right. Remember that I cover Latin America from the private banks. So obviously each country has different fiscal regimes. Each client has different family dynamics. Our clients are really global citizens, so they do have multiple jurisdictions. The kids might be studying in the United States, some become US residents. So the reality is that it's a complex region because you have very different geographies, very different political regimes, fiscal regimes. So yes, you need to take into account the environment under which our clients operate. But that's why we do have a specialty in covering Latin America. That's exactly the reason.
Great. So Sonia, in our prep calls, we were discussing something that I really loved that you shared with me, and I wish that you can share that with the audience. You mentioned that you have after all this many years of leading teams, you have like a roadmap for team leadership that it's been very successful for you. Can we talk about that?
Right. Yeah. When you told me what you wanted me to discuss today, I was thinking leadership tips. How can I do tips broadly to an audience that I don't know? So, I thought about my past experience, and I thought, okay, what has worked for me? And to be honest, in many cases, I came up with sort of three tasks or 3 bullet points. Because I've managed teams that I started from zero, from scratch, teams that did not exist, that had a particular function and target. And then I have managed also seasoned, consolidated large teams, even larger, with very senior people. So it's very different, right? You're starting a brand new team from scratch, hiring, building up the team. And then on the other hand, I've managed seasoned senior teams. So you would think you cannot manage the same both, but yeah, because if you have clear vision for those teams, communication amongst the teams members, and how you glue the culture of the teams, and then partnerships, how you actually define the common goals, the benefits for the teams. The 3 steps or the 3 ideas are the same no matter what type of team you talk about.
Yeah, we can call them the 3 principles of Sonia. Right,
maybe. I wish they have given me like some, but no.
That's why we need you here because you're sharing your principles, the ones that did work for you in different scenarios, like you were saying, to manage diverse teams. And so let's go back. It is the first one, it's vision. And when you say vision, can we define a little bit, like,
of course,
or
of
give
course.
us an example?
Of course, because the worst thing can happen is that you become the manager, the boss of the team, and you come and say, let's do this way. I think no, the vision is shared. The vision, I like to get the approach of, particularly if it's a seasoned team, let me hear one-on-one what their inputs are, what it works, because it's people that has been doing that for longer than you just arrive. So right. I think getting their input in how they would actually change things or make things different, that input initially to me is critical. Not only because then when I sort of form my own decision or opinion on the team goals, and most of that has been built up from that input. So then they feel they have not only inclusion on the process, but then on the execution of the vision, they will be part of it and they will go along. So you get these.
So what you're talking here, so I like a lot what you're saying, because it is not a vision of the business, it's a vision of the team.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Now, when the team is brand new and you just hire people from different places, functions, background, companies, then you first need to define what the culture of that new team is going to be, what the goals for the new team and the vision may be predetermined because you're hiring for that purpose. But then how you bring all those different entities together as a team, as make it more human, like a teamwork. So that is a different task than a seasoned team that has been. So it's
Sonia,
critical.
let me keep digging into that. As you go into the vision, do you define, for example, what behaviors are each one expecting from in the relationship on the team? Or
absolutely, and it tends to be, in my case, very bold, very clear, very direct, and very open discussions. That's why I always love to get the input. And by the way, the input I get not only from the senior members of the team, I love to hear from the juniors. That reverse mentoring, I think juniors bring a very fresh perspective to our business as well, and the way they see things. So I actually like to talk to both and see how they perceive the dynamics of the team, the workflows. And I think getting all that input makes my job a lot easier to get a vision clear and share it with the team. And then the execution becomes extremely fluent. And then communication, because once the vision has been defined, then you need to execute on that, be decisive about the execution, but the communication along the way is critical. And you need to be very, I love to have a very dynamic conversation with the teams on how things are going, and not just, oh, here's the vision, here are the goals, go get it. Not really. You need to not fall into micromanagement. That's a different issue.
Well, I mean, I personally, I believe that whoever is a micromanager cannot be called a leader. Maybe you're a good manager or not a good manager or whatever. You're a manager, but you cannot be called a leader. And the one thing I loved about you when you started crafting your 3 principles of leadership is that you put the vision first. And I thought, well, she's spot on, because I mean, a leader without a vision that can bring people together. I mean, you cannot be called a leader if you don't have a vision, right? That it will just bring people together, right?
And for example, I've always managed teams very goal oriented in many ways. So I think setting that vision clear, and I'm not talking only about economic goals. Of course, you need those, but also many other type of goals, right, for the team. And I think the communication needs to be very versatile. Again, seniors, juniors, and again, one-on-one. So it needs to be a very open communication, and the dynamics of the team flow easily.
So Sonia, let's dig into the communications now. When you speak about communications within the team, what specifically are you referring to in how you communicate, in what you communicate? What is it?
Is everything. I think it's having that honest conversation continuously of what works, what doesn't work. And so you can do tweaks on that project along the way, not get stuck with one view and I don't go apart from that. I think it's also human to tweak something along the way and make amendments and make changes. So that's why that communication has to be ongoing. And I think having one-on-one communications are also very practical, but also team communications. Create a format where the team can actually communicate together. That has been even more challenging with the COVID, when the whole teams were spread out and everybody remoting from their home. That communication became a bigger challenge, to be honest. Maintaining the team glue together, keeping the team communicated and connected. It was hard. I mean, good thing that obviously Zoom and other means existed, but it was an extra layer of challenge to keep everybody connected without really breaking through their personal lives too harsh.
Wow,
we were all
huge.
yeah. It was tough. It was tough. But communication is important. And third, that I don't want to dismiss, is partnership, because partnership has to be interpreted also in three ways. I always like to think three. So it's intra-ship, intra-team members,
intra-partnership, yes,
intra-divisions, intra-departments, and then externally. When you feel that for particular purpose, you need that extra expertise from outside and you need to outsource it, you need to partner with certain firms, maybe our legal angle aspects, or, could be anything. But I think partnerships and build those partnerships along the way is critical to build a bridge to actually, because otherwise just the team alone might not be able to succeed. So you need to actually branch out and partner a lot. And the partnership is how women also.
So hold it there, because the partnerships, I think that, again, we need to dig into that because it's so interesting what you just shared. But I want to remind your fans, because you're a leader, you have tons of followers, I have to say. There were many people excited about this conversation with you. I'm not going to even call it an interview, but yes, a conversation. So I want to remind all of you that you can start firing your questions and your comments for Sonia here. This is a beautiful day, both in Miami, right? And in Madrid, and I hope elsewhere. So just start firing your conversations for your questions or comments for Sonia while we keep going on with the interview or with the conversation. So 1 second, let's go back to partnerships now. Okay. I think it is so important to have both a partner in the team, which is not usually something easy, especially when you're talking about remote teams, right?
Yeah.
Do you build, as a leader, those partnerships, or they come out naturally?
Okay. Some, to be honest, come out naturally, but for the most part, I think you need to think on that vision and that execution and who else should be included to make your team succeed. Because again, particularly in a global institution, in a large corporation, you really need to do that. You need to branch out and work with other groups, other departments. So you need to think and you need to build, in some cases, those bridges closely. If they were not existing for whatever reason, previous management, whatever. So most of the times you need to actually build most of that as a manager.
Okay. And then, and I think that being a partner or building partnerships when you're a manager, it is very important, as you were saying. Then companies usually have a very hard time collaborating among different areas of the companies. And you were speaking about partnerships with the rest of the areas of the companies and of the company. And I was wondering, how do you do it? Do you have a recipe? Do you have a mantra? How do you build those partnerships internally?
To be honest, it's human relationships, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're humans. We are persons that work together. And I think building that human relationship, building the personal relationship is critical, particularly when you're covering a same market, the same, similar goals. I mean, to me, is like, should be common sense, right? So I think it's just really the way I've done it always have been personally. And then things flow, I don't think you need to make an official. I mean, some people prefer to make committees, and that's fine, that works. But I mean, to me, sometimes too many committees kill the purpose, to be honest, and the agility. So right. I like to do more on a personal level first, and then things start flowing.
Well, maybe then we can theorize that Sonia's principle is that she, as a leader, first is the first one to lead those partnerships intra-company. So then the teams, I believe that our teams kind of like mimic our behavior. And when a leader has a certain behavior, the team will follow. When you're a leader, when you're a boss, that does not happen, right?
Right. Sometimes it does. No, but I think again, if you create empathy, inclusion, and respect with your team members, everything permeates, and the team starts almost working very similar. Right. You manage to glue that. So I think so. I think it does.
So, and the last part of the partnership you were talking about with outside partners, like a law firm or your accounting consultants or what have you, right? So again, especially because you manage, and I think that the US market has a very different understanding of those partnerships as the rest of Latin America, right? So can you talk a little bit, or can you elaborate a little bit more about the importance of treating those relationships as partners and not as providers? Because I like them that you put them in the bucket of partners.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, at the end, I think it becomes, when you have so many jurisdictions, so many countries and to cover, I think having expertise locally in certain angles is a must. And so it could be just a contract with City and you and I talk and that's it, then to the next. Or it becomes, again, more of a referral, more of a understanding your business, my business. And then it makes sense to actually work together. You bring to my business benefit of a global institution. I bring you the local expertise or the local knowledge. Let's work together. And that working together ends up being more of a referral, understanding, and making almost like an extension, like a connectivity of business. So yes, right. And again, it's also natural that happens that way. And I have managed to do that in many cases, and they work amazingly well because we both need each other in many ways. Right. You nurture, we both cover and service the clients. So we have the same goals and purpose in mind. So that's why it works.
Yeah, and then I believe that we work as partners to companies all the time. And I believe that when you are a partner for a company, you bring in your best self as a partner you bring also like the intelligence of the outside world, which is something that when you have, you've been 10, 20 years in the same company or industry, you kind of not really understand the rest or forget to understand the rest sometimes, right? So
right.
There's a lot of wisdom on that, Sonia.
Well, I don't know about that, but anyway.
On your roadmap, yes, I love it. Yeah. I love your roadmap.
So 3 things: vision, communication, and partnerships.
Great, yeah.
In that order.
And I have some questions from the audience here that I'm going to share with you, and you can keep sending the questions right now. I mean, if you have questions or comments for Sonia, because this is such a great conversation. Communications, when it is among different countries, that is a very sensitive issue as well, right? Because what you tend to say in one market, it doesn't say in another market.
I don't know, really. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if it's because my background is Spanish,
Yeah.
Spain. So, has been always an icebreaker in Latin America to talk about Spain, to talk about, your country, my country. And so I've never found the communication across Latin American markets an issue. Even Brazil, that I covered for 3 years intensively, I ended up speaking Portuñol perfectly. So no, I think it's not. I think it's just, again, it's just different environments, different political and fiscal. No, it's more like different needs or different client base, but it's not a communication issue, I think. At least I think not for me.
Not for you. Okay. That is very, very honest from you to say. Okay. So I have a question here before we keep going on with the questions I have for you from Miguel. He asks, what is the most difficult part of leading a diverse team? And what is the easiest mistake to make? 2 questions.
Right. Okay. That's a good one. That's a good one.
You want me to repeat it?
No, it's fine. I think the biggest challenge to manage a team doesn't matter the size. It's you need to be very empathetic. You need to listen a lot. Okay. And the biggest mistake is to stop listening. That's for sure. Because when you stop listening and you build your own idea and you just and you get everything in automatic pilot, then it becomes an issue. Because that's why I told you communication is the second most important, and it has to be ongoing. And it's not just communication down. No.
It's not just talking to, it's listen.
It's listen. So I think lack of listening could be the biggest mistake. Absolutely.
Great. So, Sonia, as we got that question from Miguel, I'm going to ask you, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to leaders on being a team leader with diversity teams, or with teams that are very diverse, I should say?
I would think what we can fail. Another mistake that I think kills creativity, kills the team initiative and proactivity, is really fall into micromanagement. That becomes pressure on the team. That becomes too harsh for the team to really feel themselves, that have initiative, that can bring the best to them, to the team, the best of their ideas. So it really kills creativity. And when you kill the initiative and the proactivity of a team, it becomes very, very, very complicated to revamp that again. So micromanagement, I would say, is the biggest sickness that a manager can do on a team.
Okay, and the best advice that you can give them?
The best advice, I think, is really the versatility of communication from juniors to seniors, and listening.
And empathy.
Simpler. Well, empathy for human relationships, I think it's always a must, to be honest. At the end, you manage humans, you manage persons that they have family issues. And so I think empathy and keeping up as a manager, that level of empathy all the time, trust me,
it is not very hard. No,
not easy.
No, I'm sure that I believe that, or maybe I would add that to manage that huge amount of people and very diverse people across regions, you need to be very emotionally fit yourself to be able to bring that empathy.
And you need to love what you do. You really need, and they need to feel it. You need to be on the trenches with them. You need to be, if it's in country, talking to clients and looking for new clients, you need to be with them on the trenches. So they see you can do what you are asking them to do. So I think if they see you love what you do and you do it with the right energy and the right passion, I think they like that.
Great. I love that. So bring in the passion, never leave it at home. Don't leave home without it, right? Like the Amex ad that was running a long time ago. So I know that now you're a leader, but you're also an advisor, and you're a great advisor to many, especially your team right now. But I want to move the audience and ask you that in these unprecedented times, I mean, with the teams, we had the COVID and with everything else, I mean, we're going through very unprecedented times. What is the advice you give to clients?
Okay. That is a great question because definitely we're going through unprecedented times. That question, however, is very generic, Mariana. I would not answer a single straightforward reply. Why? Because each client is different. Each client has different needs. Some need the money or their assets for retirement in 20 years. My advice is going to be different. Some are getting their retirement in 1 year. Some have children and babies and grandchildren, and it's long-term objectives. I think the client needs are first and forefront of all the advisory that we can give them. So first, understanding their needs, understanding their objectives for those assets or liabilities, if that's what they need, financing for something. So you need to really first understand what they need, and then really is when you can overlay the advice. So telling you today, what would I tell the clients? In a generic question, it's hard because I would have to have a lot more intel to really give you that answer.
Right. No, I would not have expected someone so wise as you are to have give me a different answer than that. But let me then try to create the maybe Mariana's formula. I'm going to put it on myself. As I was listening to Sonia, I'm understanding that as a client, I need to have a lot of trust in my financial advisor, to choose very wisely who am I trusting, to listen if that financial advisor is really asking the right questions to me in this very moment. I mean, is she or he really understanding my situation, like Sonia said, right? I believe those would be my main points right now. And then I would say also to have a cardiologist nearby.
A cardiologist, a psychologist, a therapist, whatever you need.
So your financial advisor, pick it very right, and also have someone there next to you. Okay, so let me give you a comment from the audience because we're wrapping up. So keep throwing the comments and the questions. They say, love it, the Sonia principles and great points about each team being unique. Of course, members, longevity, mandate, etc. Most of us use the same leadership approach. Listening is key to avoid these mistakes. Oh, Karen, that is our first guest and our number one fan. Thank you so much, Karen, for that lovely comment as usual. So what do you have to say to that comment, Sonia? Do you want to comment on the comment?
Not really, because I think she's agreeing to a little bit what I've been discussing. If she would be disagreeing, then we will get on a debate. But no, I think she's spot on. I think it's managing is simple, but you need to do it with passion. You need to really care.
Yeah. You know, the other thing I was thinking about your roadmap that I like, the roadmap, because a roadmap is not a plan to me. I mean, plans are like very stiff, right? It's like, this is the way we're going. A roadmap is, okay, it's more flexible to me. It flows a little bit more, right?
And it has to be when you manage a team, you need to make tweaks and go along and communicate and get input along the way. Hopefully your team members can actually contribute and be creative and be very proactive and also advise you. So I think it's a partnership, intra-team, really.
Right. So my last question for you, and I know it is hard to think of oneself many times, like, you know, where are you going to be 5 years from now?
I know.
But right now, again, we're living through unprecedented times. We have all the technology that it's coming up to us. We are at a certain age. So where do you see your 5 years? Don't tell me it's with the sharks. Not yet.
I was going to say that. No, actually, that is a question that always my boss asks me. What do you see yourself in 5 years? And has been asking for that. I don't know for how long. So, and here am I still. But I think it's important to have that in mind always. And to be honest, no, it's too soon to be marine biologist yet.
Yes.
You know, that will
that's what I'm saying. Don't tell me you're going with the sharks, not with those.
With the sharks, I'm every weekend. So, you know, so it's my hobby. So I don't need to. However, now to your question, seriously, to be honest, I love what I do. I've been covering Latin America 21 years now and 22 starting. And to be honest, I think it's still such a fantastic and fascinating region of the world that it's, I can see myself still covering Latin America for sure, and still managing teams and still very close to my clients. The clients, I think, is what really drives my passion for what I do.
Really? Good.
Yeah,
good.
Has
good.
always been. So
good.
Definitely.
Well, maybe
so that's all I can tell you.
I'm going to keep giving my own suggestions. Maybe they can assign you some innovation for clients, because when you really care about clients as you do, you know, you might, and you have that empathy, you might be able to spot on the opportunities and the problems and the issues that, you know, especially.
Oh, trust me, I do that every day.
You do that all the time.
But we are going through a digitalization of the industry, clearly, like many other industries, and nothing. So clearly in 5 years, who knows how, you know, all these will look like, or because this is going at such a speed that is incredible. So we'll see. But one thing I can tell you, clients still, you just summarize it really well. The client needs to feel trust for the person advising them. So the robo-advisor, the digitalization will just the means to maybe make more agile transactions and things, but at the end, the trusted advisor will be required, will prevail anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, because the complexity of the world and the complexity of finance, to be honest, is such that I think they will still be needing that trusted advisor.
That is so good, Sonia, and I really like that. Trust is a big word that it's being so questioned. Lastly, you know, in every single aspect of life, that being a trusted advisor, it is something that we all need to work on with, you know, with our clients, with our people, even with our kids, you know, being that trusted advisor that you can, regardless of everything that you hear on the market, that you can be that that source of trust, you know, and of wisdom and of thinking, you know, getting the information and being open to get the information from different sources, but then coming up with your own roadmap.
Right.
I love your roadmap. Okay.
Exactly.
Listen, Sonia, thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciated your time and loved it. You know, we had fun and we had wisdom. So what else can we ask from a leader like you?
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for inviting me. It was very insightful and very nice to share this time with you and with the rest of the listeners.
Thank you. It's Sunday, so let me tell you that if you have questions for Sonia, you can always leave them here. I mean, we'll be getting those as well. But I have an announcement to make, and that it is that next Sunday we will not have a program, but we will continue on the following Sunday. We're going to we're going to go through Eastern Sunday, and on Eastern Sunday, we hope that you're going to have a bunny egg and enjoy family time like we are going to do here. So, Sonia, happy Easter.
Thank you, same, Mariana.
Thank you so much. For all of you, thank you for being here. We really appreciate you being here on a Sunday, and we'll see you in 2 weeks from today. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.